Here of Parenting Without Tears. Parenting Without Tears. I'm your host on Parenting Without Tears. I'm also your host on Single and Sound, Married and Blessed. I'm doing this series on comprehensive sexuality education. That's the general name for it, but it can be called anything in the world. Like in Canada, it's known as SOGI. In Canada, in Australia, it's known as safe school education. In United Kingdom, it's called sex education, sex ed. So it could be called anything in the world. It's embedded into the social science subject, and so social studies. Social studies. So it could come in different forms and can be given different names, but basically it's called this comprehensive sexuality education. So now, one of the greatest assaults on the health and innocence of children is this thing called CSE, comprehensive sexuality education. That's one of the biggest mistakes we have made in education, in the sense that we're now trying to sexualize children, which is obviously endangering the health of the children. Now, I'm going to break it down, because we have the traditional sex education, which a lot of us actually were privy to. A lot of us were actually taught on, sex education in schools, and it was clean, pure, moral. Things like, how to recognize, puberty, what your body changes, what changes in your body, for the female, for the male, what age you start to, basically have your period as a girl, as a boy, if you're having wet dreams, what sort of, so those were pure, morally inclined sex education that we had. But what we are having today is quite different. What we are having today is an attack, an assault on our children. It's actually an intention to sexualize children, because the curriculums are not the same. The curriculums are quite vulgar. The curriculums are full of, things that are detrimental to our children's consumption. You understand? So what we're saying is that anywhere it is presented in the world, parents should kick against it. Parents should say no to it, because it is an act of sexualization and sodomization. It is not as it is being presented to us to be. It's being presented to us as sex education, but that is not what it is in any sense. So it's highly explicit. Comprehensive sexuality education is, or call it SOGI, call it safe school education, whatever it is explicit. It promotes promiscuity. It's a high risk. It promotes high risk sexual behaviors to children, and and that affects their health. It promotes these things as being normal, as in high-risk sexual behavior. They promote it as being normal. And there's nothing normal about, being sexualized. There's nothing normal about that, because why? Sex is for older people. Sex is for married, two people that are married, a man and a woman. That's the way we believe it to be in the Christian world. You understand? Sex is for adults, not for children. Sex is not for children. Sex is for adults. So if we are being told that our children should learn how to actually have sex when they're just children, then that's an attack on their health. That's an attack on their being. That's an attack on their person. That's an attack on their good, on their group. You understand? So, and we must not keep silence over this issue. So it's not sex education as it's been presented, because it fails to teach the children about the emotional, about the psychological, about the physical health risk, of promiscuous sexual activity. It doesn't teach them the emotional trauma that comes with it, the psychological trauma, the physical trauma, the physical health risk, health risk like what do you call it, sexually transmitted diseases, sexually transmitted, infections. It doesn't teach them about that. It just promotes, explicit sexual behavior, and that is an abuse in itself. So we'll call it, I personally see it as a child abuse. I personally see comprehensive sexuality education as a child abuse. Is an act of such child abuse that is being legalized, and it's supposed not to be legalized. So we parents are the ones that must kick against it so that it does not get legalized. It's actually, what is comprehensive sexuality education? It's rights-based. It's rights-based. It's to do with rights. It's an approach to sex education. It promotes sexual rights to children at the expense of their sexual health. You understand? They are promoting sexual rights as opposed to their sexual health. What we should be looking at as the sexual health of the child, not the sexual right of the child. Sexual health of the child will present abstinence, will present virginity, will present repercussions of being sexually active as a child. Because if you're sexually active as a young person, hey, it's going to come with pain. Because why? A lot of things can result, in it. For instance, children don't know, they don't really, sort of know. You're talking about teenagers falling in love, having sex. They don't even understand they don't understand life yet. So what happens? They sort of like they ditch one another. You basically, I don't like you anymore. I don't want to have the relationship with you anymore. You cut off the relationship. You sever the relationship. That comes with pain. It comes with serious pain. When you have been in sexual activity with somebody and the person then walks away or breaks the relationship, it comes with heartache. It comes with serious emotional, psychological pain. And those are the kinds of things we should be teaching our children, so that we tell them, listen to me, don't get involved in something that will bring you pain. Because if the person walks away or breaks the relationship because there's been part of you connected to that person by way of sexual relationship, somehow it tends to give you so much pain. So those are the things. That's sexual health, not sexual right. We should not be promoting sexual right. How can we say a child has a right to sex, which is what comprehensive sexuality is all about? It's all about the rights of the child to have sex. No child has the right to have sex because a child is not matured enough for sex. Period. It's an abuse, it's an attack, and it's coming from the pot of haters. I will call them haters. The people that are promoting these kinds of things that are promoting it and pushing it into the classrooms are actually haters. If they don't hate children and want to destroy the lives of children, then they should not be giving them what will destroy them, because what they are presenting is an act of destruction. I will call it weapon of mass destruction, because when you introduce a child into sex early, you are giving that child a weapon of mass destruction, emotional destruction, health destruction, physical destruction, psychological destruction. I call it a weapon of mass destruction. So we need to kick against comprehensive sexuality education as parents, as aunties, as teachers, as grandparents, whoever you are. You need to kick against it so that we can help to secure the destinies of our children, so that we can help to protect our children. We can help to protect them from the abuse, and protect them from these haters, like I will call them, because if it's a legalized child abuse, and we all must gang against it so that the children can be preserved. Now let's look at the deception of comprehensive sexuality education. Let's look at, because usually it is disguised with, you know, innocuous sounding names like human rights education, gender equality education, sexual and reproductive health education or information. They present it in those kinds of format, and so you would automatically think that, oh, this is a kind of education. You know, when you talk of reproductive health education, all of a sudden you feel, okay, it's going to help me become healthy, you know, in the area of reproduction and all that stuff, you know, health, you know, or in the area of gender equality. So you are thinking to yourself, okay, I'm a girl, you know, I'm not going to be looked at on. It's going to be present me with gender equality so that, you know, I can fit in and nobody has to abuse me in my own right or reject me or make me feel not belonged. You understand? So it's presented in such manners so that you would want to embrace it. But, you know, it's normally taught to the children of younger, in fact, the youngest of ages, often without the knowledge or consent of the parents. Now it is taught to the kindergarten, 4-year-old, 5-year-old, 6-year-old. It's taught to them, hey, that's an abuse, that's child abuse. You're teaching a 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10-year-old child how to have sex. You're teaching them about same-sex relationship, that they can have same-sex relationship. That is an abuse, because that child, what comprehensive sexuality education is doing is sexualizing the child, making, not even helping, it's making the child to fall for what may not be acceptable within the context of the upbringing of that child, whether it's to do with religion or culture. To do with the religion or culture, because the culture bringing up or rearing that child may not be, in fact, may not accept that kind of, you know, ideology, or, you know, or the religion that child is being brought up in may not accept that kind of ideology. And so if you are enforcing it, if you are presenting it to that child, and the environment, the culture, the religion or whatever it is not acceptance of it, then I see that as enforcing something that is not supposed to be. And that is an act against one's will. So an act against one's will is witchcraft. You understand? You know, when you force somebody against their will, then that is witchcraft, because everyone has a mind of their own. Everyone has to be able to make up their own mind, and a child is a child until that child is 18 and over. So that is the general rule all over the world. Until the child is 18 and over and steps into adulthood, that child still needs parental guidance. Hence why children are with their parents. Hence why parents are made to be liable or responsible for every child or every person under them that is age 18 and under. Every person who is age 18 and under is classed as a child. Are you understanding me? So if we are now trying to imply that that child has a right to sex, then that child is no longer a child, and that becomes a child abuse. When you treat a child with, you know, as if he were to be an adult, you might as well get someone to sleep with them, and that is classed as pedophilia. When somebody, you know, has sex with underage, that person is committing crime. So why? That's a solution right there. We just hit something right there. I didn't prepare that, but we just hit something right there. Now, we're saying that people must not molest children sexually, okay? And that an act of sleeping with a child is a criminal act, and I quite agree with that. That is the truth. Anybody sleeps with a child under the age of 18, that person is a criminal. That person needs to be imprisoned. That person needs to be punished. But hey, That's the truth, and we must abide by the truth. That's the law, and we must abide by the law. However, we are saying that is the case, and yet we are teaching the child how to have sex. We're saying that the child has a right to sex, and then we're saying that whoever sleeps with a child is a criminal. Can you see how much of madness, what really upsets me in this is the fact that our governments are involved. Heads of states, prime ministers, secretary of states of education, departments of education, and this is child abuse. If you are teaching that child the act of sex, that is child abuse, because you cannot have sex. You cannot be teaching a child to have sex because he's not supposed to have sex until over the age of 18. So if you are now teaching that child the act of sex, sexual act, then that is the same as having somebody sleep with a child. Period. I don't see what's so hard to get in this. So our governments need to retrace their steps and leave the children alone. Let the children grow up. They can then make up their minds whatever they want to do. Anybody is free to do whatever they want to do if once they get to that age of adulthood. Nobody needs to be forced against their will. But as long as they're children, they will be mentored, they will be guided, they will be trained, and they will be helped to make the right decisions in life. Because if any wrong decision is made, it would have a serious impact on that child's life, purpose, and destiny. So, please, let's say no to sex ed. It's explicit in sexual nature. COGI, safe school, sex education, comprehensive sexuality education. Whatever it is called in your town, in your country, if it's to do with sexualization of children, where children are taught the act of sex or sexual rights, then it is not a good agenda. It is an evil agenda, and it must not be accepted by the parents. Hey, thank you so much. I'm going to be doing another one, and this is going to be serious. And so this is just a preamble to prepare us. Watch out for my next one. God bless you. My name is Dr. Chris Ogedembe. I am a host. You know, I do a parenting program every week on Facebook Live. I also do a relationship program every week on Facebook Live. My name is, go and look for my name, CHRIS, Chris Ogedembe, OGEDENGBE, Chris Ogedembe, OGEDENGBE. Hey, I'll see you. God bless you. Hey, check all my pages out and, like my page, subscribe to my channel so that we can be on this journey together to rescue the destinies of our children so that they do not sodomize or sexualize our children. I celebrate you. See you later. Bye.